Hey guys, Mad Science here, and today I am back with another episode of r/MaliciousCompliance, where it's basically law that you follow it to the letter, but not the true intent of whoever made the request. Today I have 4 stories lined up. Let's get into them. Never touch your truck again? You got it, neighbor. I posted this on the Am I the A-hole sub, but many people are saying it is MC, and to post it here too. I, a 55-year-old male, live in a major city in Ontario, Canada. I live in a small subdivision and have 5 neighbors total on my street. For the past few years, during the winter, when we're getting a lot of snow or a bad storm, as I'm leaving for my overnight shift at 8 to 9 p.m, I'll put my wife's windshield wipers up on her car and do a quick walk around to my other 5 neighbors and put their windshield wipers up on their cars. Obviously not if they're outside or something, but if it looks like they're in for the night. Many of them forget to do this, as many of them have children and it typically slips their mind, and their wipers will be frozen to their car in the morning. It's just something nice I like to do to look out for my neighbours. They're all always grateful of this and thank me for it. Many of them started doing it too, and there'll be nights where I'll forget to put mine and my wife's up, and in the morning one of the neighbours has done it for us. Anyway, recently one of our neighbours moved, and a new family moved in as of last week. It's a young couple and their 2 young children. The other night, I was leaving for my overnight shift at around 9 p.m. It was snowing really heavy, and we were supposed to be getting almost 30 centimeters of snow, and it was freezing out. So I put my wife's wipers up and do my usual quick walk around to the other neighbors. I was hesitant when I reached my new neighbor's house, as I've only introduced myself once, but did it anyway. As I was putting the second wiper up on their pickup truck, the husband came charging out of his front door, yelling, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing to my truck?" I tried to explain to him I was just putting his wipers up to help him. He continues to scream at me, "Get the hell off my property and don't touch my short again." The wife then came out and started yelling at me too. I apologized and started walking away. Some of my neighbors heard the commotion and came outside to see what was happening. They tried explaining to him too that it's just something that we do. Both of them were not having it. Fast forward to this morning. I'm arriving home from my overnight shift and I'm walking in, and as I'm walking in, I see the wife of this couple struggling outside to break the ice off the windshield wipers of the truck. Guess she was trying to take her kids to school and the wipers were frozen solid on the car. She sees me and yells over, Hey there, do you mind giving me a hand, please?" I look over to her and yell back, "No, sorry, thought I was to never touch your short again, ma'am," and walk back inside. She yelled back at me, "Wow, Told my wife about this. She thinks I should have helped her because she was just trying to get her kids to school. I disagree, and I was just following what they told me. To be honest, yeah, don't help them if they don't want it. Boss says the time reported by the punch system is law. Watch me use the law to my advantage. Not a 100% this qualifies as malicious compliance, but here goes. 8 or 9 years ago, I was a baker at a very popular fast food chain in my country. I always been a model employee, so one day I was surprised the manager asked me into her office. She reprimanded me because I had taken a 45-minute instead of 30-minute break one day the previous week. I remember that day, and indeed I had taken more than 30 minutes. 31 to be exact, and that was because on my way back, someone had a concern that I took the time to resolve. I explained to her that she was adamant that the system ran to the nearest 15 minutes, and that if it said 45 minutes, then there was no way I could have only been 1 minute late. She made it clear that it was my fault, that the punch system is law, since it can't lie. On my next shift, I looked into it. On the punch system, there is a way to see at what time you punched. I realized that the system was not rounding the amount of time you worked, were on break, but rather the time at which you punched. What happened that day was I punched out at 10:22, rounding to 10:15. Let's go back 31 minutes later at 10:53, rounding to 11, hence the 45-minute break. Now, in my position, I had the luxury of choosing when to go on break as long as they didn't run out of anything during that time. From that day till the day I switched jobs a few months later, I made sure to go on break just after the cutoff and back just before the next one. For instance, punching out at 10:08, rounding to 10:15, and back at 10:52, rounding to 10:45. I thus ended up with 44 minutes break that, according to the system, were only 30 minutes long. One time, a supervisor told me that it seemed like I was going a bit longer than usual. I replied that she saw me punching in and out, and that she could go confirm in the system if she wanted to. Never heard from it after that. TLDR, was chewed on because of a weird quirk of the punch system, learned how to use it to my advantage, and had 14 minutes extra on all my breaks. The manager was also under the impression that the system rounded the amount of break time to the nearest 15 minutes, not the ins and outs. That's also what they tell during recruitment, hence why I initially thought that's how it worked. The supervisor who knows was a part-timer, not the same person as the manager. I also don't think they actually cared, just found it a bit strange. Before leaving, I did share the trick with a few co-workers, but since cashiers have a supervisor that coordinate break time, they can't really be late. For them, 1 minute late is actually noticed by someone, let alone 14. That's one way to get basically a longer break than you should. If the punch system does that, that's not that good. You want me to fly 12 hours earlier because it's cheaper. I, a 56-year-old male in the UK, was working in Africa as an operations manager for a large global security company from 2019 to 2014. The country I was working in had been through a long civil war and was very underdeveloped. Think no paved roads, people living a very traditional African lifestyle. At the time, I had been working there on a 10 weeks in country, 2 weeks at home rotation for about 4 years. I'd flown to and from work so often that I had the journey down to the bare minimum travel time, and it worked out the cheapest option for the company because travel days were paid from when I left home. The shorter my journey, the cheaper it worked out for the company, as it does. Someone in the head office had looked at cutting down on travel costs, probably to make themselves look good and get promoted. As a result, I got an email a week at home saying they had changed my normal flight, which was 5 p.m. on Sunday from the nearest UK airport via Amsterdam, then on to Nairobi, connecting with a 9 a.m. flight to the war-torn country on Monday morning. The change was from a 5 p.m. departure to a 5 a.m. departure the same day, same route, and saving about £8, or euro, whatever that symbol is. No, that's a pound symbol, £80. To clarify, the 9 a.m. flight from Nairobi was the first flight to war-torn country because the destination airport was the only surfaced runway in the country. It had no runway lights or radar, so all flights had to be in daylight. Oh! Anyway, I agreed to the flight time change, but they had to move it to the Monday so I don't lose a day at home. All will become clear. They agreed because still saved £80 on the ticket, no skin off their nose. Once I got the flight confirmation, I contacted the travel desk asking for hotel and taxi bookings. When they asked why I needed these, I explained that to make a 5 a.m. departure required a check-in at 3 a.m. So I needed a hotel at the airport on Sunday night because no trains were running to get me the 3 hours to the airport from home for that time of the morning. The flights they booked would get me into Nairobi for 7 p.m. after dark, so I need a hotel there and a taxi each way to and from the hotel to get me onto the 8 a.m. The 9 a.m. flight on Tuesday, the same flight I would have been on if I'd left at 5 p.m. but a day later. A couple of days go by and I got a phone call from the company travel desk telling me the travel plan was confirmed. I was on the 5 a.m. flight with a hotel reservation at my UK airport the night before, a hotel in Nairobi after landing, and the taxi would collect me in Nairobi and drop me at the airport for my final connection. I asked about the cost saving. They said £80. I then asked about the hotels and taxis. They replied, "Oh, they don't come out of our budget. That's the operations budget, so you're fine." I was happy. I was arriving back at work a day later. They still paid the same amount with a night out in Nairobi to sweeten the deal. My boss, on the other hand, went nuts. Nobody had told him of the changes. My deputy flew out on the plane I flew in on, meaning I didn't get a handover of the work that was going on. On top of that, the cost for hotels, taxis, and extra days' pay had all come out of my boss's operational budget. I think the total amount added was about £1,000. But hey, they saved £80 on the flight cost. When you want to just be scrupulous and save a bit of money, but you lose so much more. It's like, I want to save some money. In an attempt to save 80, you lost 920. Delete your files and leave. So I have a friend, Ted, who 6 or 7 years ago was 64 and considering retirement. Ted worked in health analytics for a large metro health organization. He would look at patient data and see ways to improve patient outcomes and gain funding. Each month he would email to the relevant department heads the data and links for government grants or funding applications. 12 months prior to this, Ted got a new boss, Sally, who didn't appreciate what Ted did. Sally pretty much ignored Ted, except for a simple instruction that all data and reports go to her and no one else. She would deal with it. The organization declares a restructure with lots of job losses. They are extremely determined to get this through. Ted is to be redundant. In a meeting, Sally tells Ted his work is useless and he is of no use to the organization. She says she hasn't opened one of his email reports in 12 months, and that clearly shows he doesn't matter to the organization. In 3 months, he'll be redundant and receive a handsome package, over a year's pay. Sally was pretty rude to Ted, and HR asked her to leave. It is decided that Sally will no longer deal with Ted. The union is putting a decent fight and slowing down the restructure. Ted makes the offer to HR that he will not fight the redundancy if they pay him 3 months sick leave, and after that his redundancy. They agree but insist that he does a full data clean for patient confidentiality reasons in the next 2 days, and then his sick leave starts. Cue malicious compliance. Ted backs up a copy, then rings IT, who deletes every file, all on his hard drive and not a server. He was not so tech savvy, and physically destroys his hard drive. He also asks them to search through any unopened emails he had sent and delete them off the server. IT wiped every last trace of Ted from the system. Ted gave a copy of his data to the internal auditors on his last day. On Ted's last day, he also discovered that Sally didn't know he was going on sick leave the next day. She rings with us, sweet as pie, voice saying, "Hey Ted, I need to look at those numbers you sent me as I can't find them. The auditors say we are 2.2 million short of funding this year, and you might be able to help out." Ted replies, "Sure, but ring me tomorrow." Ted leaves and retires happily ever after. Sally apparently could not find Ted's data in the coming weeks. Ted ignores her calls as he was on sick leave. The internal auditors investigated and found that Sally had cost the organization over $2.5 million in funding. Ooh. At the same time, complaints from department heads about Ted's redundancy. Someone forwarded Ted an email a couple months ago from the CEO stating, after a brief conversation with Sally, she had decided to look for other opportunities, and Ted walks away a clean man. He basically brought down a company, he brought down Sally with one sentence. That is impressive. And with that, I'm going to end this episode here. Links will be in the description to the main channel and the second channel, so you guys go check out. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know next video comes out. A ding, ding. I'm the Mad Scientist. Mad Scientist out.